Welcome on in everyone and welcome to the Cup of Tea channel. So we've just received a hotfix which is now officially live on the Diablo 4 servers. These are changes for the Abattoir of Zir, which was the new endgame content that came out on December 5th. And also we received some more information for the Midwinter Blight event, which will be out on December 12th. So in this video, we're going to be covering both of these. So without further ado, let's get started. So before the hotfixes actually did go live, Blizzard did put out a post addressing the player feedback saying, "Hello all, we want to thank everyone for the feedback you have all been providing over the last few days since the launch of our Abattoir of Zir. As we talked about at BlizzCon, we wanted to add additional endgame features for Diablo 4 and have players provide feedback to what could be possible permanent additions in the future as we continue growing the player experience in the game. We have some initial changes we want to provide to players in a hotfix tomorrow for the game that will address some of the feedback we have been seeing for the Abattoir of Zir. And with these changes, they are going to be making some tweaks to the glyph experience rewards, problematic affixes, as well as difficulty and damage reductions." And just a couple of hours ago, this hotfix did go live with a post from Pez Radar, also known as Adam Fletcher, saying this hotfix is currently being rolled out and should be completely out for all players in the next hour of this post. In the first section, it is the gaming updates, and the first change is the Paragon glyphs and the amount of experience you earn depending on higher tiers of abattoirs you complete. So the overall experience they receive from completing your Abattoirs of Zirs have been increased, and additionally significant increases the higher tiers you do complete. So for tier 1, you're still going to receive that 1000 glyph experience. Nothing has been changed there. However, as soon as you start hitting that tier 5, instead of 1800, they've increased it to 2800. When you start hitting tier 10s, it's gone from 3900 up to 11600 glyph experience. Tiers 20, this is where you're going to see a massive jump from 11900 to 65400, and then that tier 25, the last tier of the Abattoir of Zir, the biggest jump is from 17800 to 117,100 glyph experience. So you're going to get a lot more than compared to pre-hotfix. So now we're going to move on to the second part of the hotfix, and this is actually changes to the Bloodseekers themselves. So no longer will they be able to spawn with the affixes of Vampiric or Suppressor, both inside the Abattoir of Zir and the overall Season of Blood content. So the Vampiric affix is where they could actually steal some life force from the player and regenerate their HP, and when you get to those higher tiers, they're going to have a larger health pool, do more damage, and heal a lot more. So it would get to a point where it would almost be impossible to be able to kill the Vampiric Bloodseekers. But additionally, they have removed the Suppressor, where it spawned a large dome over the vampire, and where you made a range attack outside of the dome, it would not actually do any damage to them. So it would put a lot of risk on sorcerers, rogues, if they relied on that range damage to get within melee range, and then potentially dying and costing them the run. And now this final change is actually quite a substantial one in terms of the actual difficulty curve. When players were going into the Abattoir of Zir for the first time, they were actually hit by quite a difficult challenge from the start. And even though this is meant to be the peak end game content for the season, where you're meant to be using your best builds in the best gear possible, that tier 1 was actually really difficult. But not me though, I nailed it on my first attempt. But anyway, the Diablo 4 team have said we've reconstructed the earlier tiers of the Abattoir of Zir, and the experience now begins with a difficulty close to that of a 90 Nightmare dungeon for tier 1 of the Abattoir of Zir. The monsters continue to rapidly scale, reaching a similar difficulty of Nightmare tier 100 by that tier 5. And then by tier 10, that is where it's going to be how it has always been pre-hotfix regardless. And then additionally, we've reduced the incoming damage by 20% throughout all tiers of the Abattoir of Zir, so the damage output is not going to be as crazy as it was beforehand. So this should give a lot of players that were failing in the first couple of tiers to now actually have a chance to get into this content and then leveling up their tiers of blood glyph themselves. And then the last little bit of the hotfix was just some bug fixes. So they fixed an issue relating to the leveling of glyphs in the seasonal journey, as well as the performance and stability improvements. But we can also go over to the patch notes 1.2.3a, and for the Abattoir of Zir, they fixed an issue where the tooltip for the tiers of blood glyph indicated that the damage bonus was an additive when it was instead multiplicative. And as you may have saw from the other day, your glyph levels, they were decreased in levels. That has now been resolved. And then lastly, they fixed an issue where tier 7 and 8 of the Bloodforged sigils had incorrect sigil dust rewards when being salvaged, where you could actually end up earning more sigil dust by crafting and then salvaging them again. And that pretty much covers all the hotfix notes for the Abattoir of Zir. We're now going to move on to the Midwinter Blight event. This is going to be our first holiday seasonal event in Diablo 4, which will be out on December 12th. And the reason why I just wanted to cover this in this video right here, we did get a video from the Diablo team, and this is kind of a new format that they've actually done. So rather than it being a trailer of what it is, it was almost like a live stream developer update where they had the members of staff actually ask questions about the event, what it's going to be about, how to obtain the rewards, where it's located, and kind of like the ideas they have for this and for potential new content in the future. I highly recommend checking the video out for itself. I'll drop a link in the description below, so be sure to click on that and check it out. But it was a really cool way in terms of how they presented it, and I hope they actually do something like this in the future for more content. To briefly summarize what the event is, you'll first meet an NPC known as Gillian, who you'll find in Kjørveshad. You'll then venture around the Fractured Peaks, completing events, slaying monsters, and completing other objectives. You can earn some pretty cool cosmetic rewards, a total of 18 to be exact. You can then earn a new title, and in this event, you can also craft a currency known as Midwinter Proofs. This will then contribute to your tribute tier. This kind of works very similar to how your Hunter's Acclaims work, and then from there, you can earn some gear, as well as a new elixir which can provide some useful stats. And instead of the 5% experience increase most elixirs will give you, this one instead actually gives you a 15% experience increase. And then finally, they're going to actually be introducing a new aspect known as the Shard of Dawn. But everything that you earn during this event will actually carry over after the event, but only obtainable during, so be sure to start farming. And that brings us to the end of the video right there. I hope you found it super useful. We're going to be streaming some Diablo 4 this Saturday over at twitch.tv/cuppa__t, and I hope to see you there. But until then, goblins, I'll see you in the next video. Take care.